Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning we'll be in Genesis chapter 46, verse 1 through chapter 47, verse 31. So, upon hearing Joseph is ruler of Egypt, Israel began his journey, taking with him all that he had. When he came to Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. God spoke to Israel in a vision during the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." He replied, "Here I am." He said, "I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I myself will certainly bring you back from there. Joseph will close your eyes." Then Jacob started out from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little children and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent along to transport him. Jacob and all his descendants took their livestock and the possessions they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and they went to Egypt. He brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons, his daughters and granddaughters, all his descendants. These are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt: Jacob and his sons, Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob. The sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, and Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah, but and Onan died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Pula, Jashub, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These were the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, along with Dinah his daughter. His sons and daughters numbered 33 in all. The sons of Gad, Zephon, Hagi, Shuni, Ezbon, Eri, Aradai, and Arali. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and Sarah their sister. The sons of Beriah were Heber and Malchiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter. She bore these to Jacob, 16 in all. The sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Joseph and Benjamin. Manasseh and Ephraim were born to Joseph in the land of Egypt. Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore them to him. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Ard. These were the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 in all. The sons of Dan, Husham. The sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shelam. These were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter. She bore these to Jacob, 7 in all. All the direct descendants of Jacob who went to Egypt with him were 66 in number. The number does not include the wives of Jacob's sons. Counting the 2 sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt, all the people of the household of Jacob who were in Egypt numbered 70. Jacob sent Judah before him to Joseph to accompany him to Goshen. So they came to the land of Goshen. Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet his father Israel in Goshen. When he met him, he hugged his neck and wept on his neck for quite some time. Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, my brothers and my father's household who are in the land of Canaan have come to me. The men are shepherds, they take care of livestock. They have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. Pharaoh will summon you and say, "What is your occupation?" Tell him, "Your servants have taken care of cattle from our youth until now, both we and our fathers, so that you may live in the land of Goshen. For everyone who takes care of sheep is disgusting to the Egyptians." Joseph went and told Pharaoh, "My father, my brothers, their flocks and herds, and all that they own have arrived from the land of Canaan. They are now in the land of Goshen." He took 5 of his brothers and introduced them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph's brothers, "What is your occupation?" They said to Pharaoh, "Your servants take care of flocks, just as our ancestors did." Then they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to live as temporary residents in the land. There is no pasture for your servants' flocks, because the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. So now please let your servants live in the land of Goshen." Pharaoh said to Joseph, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best region of the land. They may live in the land of Goshen. If you know any highly capable men among them, put them in charge of my livestock." Then Joseph brought in his father and presented him before Pharaoh. Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How long have you lived?" Jacob said to Pharaoh, "All the years of my travels are 130. All the years of my life have been few and painful. The years of my travels are not as long as those of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers. He gave them territory in the land of Egypt, in the best region of the land of Ramesses, just as Pharaoh had commanded. Joseph also provided food for his father, his brothers, and all his father's household, according to the number of their little children. But there was no food in all the land because the famine was very severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that could be found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan as payment for the grain they were buying. Then Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's palace. When the money from the land of Egypt and Canaan was used up, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your very eyes because our money has run out?" Then Joseph said, "If your money is gone, bring your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for their horses, the livestock of their flocks and herds, and their donkeys. He got them through that year by giving them food in exchange for livestock. When that year was over, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We cannot hide from our lord that the money is used up, and the livestock and the animals belong to our lord. Nothing remains before our lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will become Pharaoh's slaves. Give us seed that we may live and not die. Then the land will not become desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Each of the Egyptians sold his field, for the famine was severe. So the land became Pharaoh's. Joseph made all the people slaves from one end of Egypt's border to the other end of it. But he did not purchase the land of the priests, because the priests had an allotment from Pharaoh, and they ate from their allotment that Pharaoh gave them. That is why they did not sell their land. Joseph said to the people, "Since I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here is seed for you. Cultivate the land. When you gather in the crop, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh, and the rest will be yours for seed for the fields and for you to eat, including those in your households and your little children." They replied, "You have saved our lives. You are showing us favor, and we will be Pharaoh's slaves." So Joseph made it a statute, which is in effect to this day throughout the land of Egypt. 1/5 belongs to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests did not become Pharaoh's. Israel settled in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they owned land there. They were fruitful and increased rapidly in number. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. The years of Jacob's life were 147 in all. The time for Israel to die approached, so he called for his son Joseph and said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place." Joseph said, "I will do as you say." Jacob said, "Swear to me that you will do so." So Joseph gave him his word. Then Israel bowed down at the head of his bed. But he's not dead yet. He gives a blessing to all his sons after this. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a genealogy here. Well, first, Jacob ends up moving to Egypt, and God speaks with Jacob, telling him that he is the God. "I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there." And he'll bring him back up. Yeah. It's interesting. You had the points where Jacob was moving around in his life, God spoke with him. So, then you have a record of the sons and daughters of Jacob, and following that, you have Jacob going in front of Pharaoh and telling them that they're herdsmen. Joseph advises him to say that they've taken care of cattle, because everyone who takes care of sheep is disgusting to the Egyptians, which is interesting. But it appears that Jacob goes against this. Well, Joseph's brothers rather, say that they take care of flocks. I wonder if that's intentional there. Let me see what Guzik has to say quick. Nothing relevant to this, unfortunately. Not sure. Let me just start reading through here, I guess. Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba. Jacob left nothing behind and came to the southernmost outpost of Canaan on the way to Egypt. Israel stopped there to honor God with sacrifices. Both Abraham and Isaac lived for a time at Beersheba. Israel's grandfather Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba many years before and had called on the name of the Lord there. Isaac received a special promise from God and built an altar for sacrifice there, calling on the name of the Lord. It was probably at this very place Israel sacrificed, remembering what God had done before. It was therefore a memorable spot in the history of his family. And God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night. More than 40 years before, when Jacob was about to leave the promised land, God spoke to him in a dream. Now when he was about to leave the land again, God again brought assurance through a dream. Do not fear to go down to Egypt. This strongly suggests that Israel was afraid to go to Egypt. Jacob may have remembered that Abraham had gone to Egypt in a time of famine once before, and it was an expression of his unbelief, and much evil eventually came from it. He also may have remembered God told his father Isaac not to go down to Egypt. Also, Jacob knew God told Abraham that his descendants would be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them 400 years. As Jacob led his family into this foreign land, he did not know what the future held. At the same time, he knew the future was in God's hands. Hesitate, my dear friend, while you are not sure that it is God's will. But when once you are certain that it is according to the Lord's mind, it will be unfaithfulness to God to have any kind of fear. Steam straight ahead, for that way lies your haven. From Spurgeon. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went down to Egypt were 70. The total number of males of this clan was 70. There were 66, plus Jacob himself, Joseph and his 2 sons. This large family would become a nation of perhaps more than 2 million over the next 400 years. Stephen said that there were 75 who went into Egypt. This is because Stephen quoted from the Septuagint version of the Old Testament, which says 75. The number in the Septuagint is not wrong, just arrived at in a different way, specifically adding 5 more sons, or grandsons, of Joseph born in Egypt. I will go up and tell Pharaoh. Joseph became the representative and the advocate for the whole family. They came to safety in Egypt, but needed Joseph to represent them. In the same pattern, the believer needs Jesus Christ to represent him or her. Yeah, that Joseph served as an intercessor for him, for his brothers. Indeed, the pharaohs, after Joseph's death, forgot about Joseph and made the people of Israel slaves. This shows what would happen, in theory, if we had no representative or advocate before God. But Jesus, not Mary, not saints, is our eternal representative and advocate, being the same yesterday, today, and forever. Pharaoh asks Jacob how old he is. The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Jacob explained that he was on a pilgrimage. He knew that his real home was somewhere else, heaven. Yeah, and I think it's Hebrews that goes on to talk similarly, that those who say such things know that their home isn't here. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life. This was not a cynical statement by Jacob. He recognized that the general character of his life, lived in the flesh, and the length of his life did not compare either to eternity or to the lives of his ancestors. There was no bread in all the land. The famine went far beyond Egypt, and it was very severe. Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Joseph was not only a hard worker and a brilliant administrator, he was also an honest worker. He did not cheat the Pharaoh. As a loyal employee, he brought the money into Pharaoh's house. When the money failed in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan, food was available in Egypt, but at a price. Because the famine lasted so long, 7 years in total, eventually people ran out of money to buy more grain. When the money first failed, Joseph received their livestock as payment. When the livestock was gone, then Joseph received their land as payment. So the land became Pharaoh's. In the process, the power and wealth of Pharaoh was multiplied greatly. In times of national crisis, the power of central government often increases. Under Joseph's administration, Pharaoh owned the land, and the people worked it for the price of 1/5 of the produce of the land. Joseph wasn't unfair. He fed the people when they would have starved, and in return asked for 1/5 annually from the produce of the land. Many people today would be happy with only 20% in taxes. Grew and multiplied exceedingly. Henry Morris calculated the initial group of 5 grew into a clan of about 150 years. The 100 includes the 70 of Genesis 46 through 46:27, plus a few wives of the sons not mentioned and grandchildren. That is a growth rate of just over 6% per year. At that rate, there would be several million descendants by the time of the Exodus, 430 years later. Please do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. This was the oath Israel required from Joseph. Israel knew Egypt was not his home. He belonged in a land promised to him and his descendants. He clearly believed and understood he was the inheritor of Abraham's covenant. Yeah. And rather than Jacob's previous fearful dealings, it seems that he responded in faith to what the Lord told him to do, that is, to go down to Egypt, because he would come up out of there. And yeah, so pretty good character growth from Israel. Yeah, it's interesting to me how once Egypt forgets about Joseph and what he did for them, they enslave the Israelite people. But certainly they start out in a good spot here, in that they live in the land of Goshen and they have actual land, whereas only the priests in Egypt's domain have any actual land to them. And they have a good occupation of taking care of the Pharaoh's livestock. So, anywho, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.